Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I'm going to be speaking once more with my brother, Ben, played by Eric Scott. Another question that I get asked a lot is, which I've talked to people about, the missing children in reunion movies.
Yeah.
People always, it's like, what happened to them? It's like, I don't know.
It's something that, we've talked about it before, but because you're putting these down for everyone to see. When we were doing the return of the Waltons, the reunions, the characters were written and new writers were brought in and new production team was put together. And they did make mention of Virginia for my character, but no mention of Charlie. And when I came to them in the reading, I took them aside. I didn't do it in front of everyone. I went to the producers and I said, I just want to let you know my character had another child. His name was Charlie, and you don't even have mention of him. And the guy looked at me and says, don't be difficult, Eric. No one will remember. And I went, okay. I mean, that's all I could say. I'm not gonna. I had a reputation of standing up for everyone and saying things, and I thought, okay, that's where they want to take it. I'll just do the job because I signed the contract. It was. I was disappointed because that just showed that they weren't thinking in line of what a fan would have wanted.
Yeah, they weren't
and what they wanted to see.
Long time
and they're the loyal ones that were wanting to see it to be done. But on the plus side, it was great to be with everyone again.
Yeah, I mean,
we enjoyed being with each other,
completely missing too, and no mention. I mean, I think that they could have taken the time to just make a mention of them in some way. They didn't have to be there. They could have been somewhere else. And we also, nowadays, so many shows are sequential. Yes. And they're serialized, and so we had story arcs that were like, there were things with the characters throughout a season or throughout the series, but each episode was designed to be a standalone. And so there were any number of times, as I now look back, where the first time we saw AJ Covington, he says, oh, we were never to see him again. And then a few seasons later, he's back as a different actor, so.
Yes.
They didn't, yes. I don't think we had a full-fledged Bible for the show in the way that shows do now, where you have to present, 3 to 5 seasons of what's going to happen with the show. And I didn't get the sense that we had that, or, things weren't storyboarded. A lot of things that have become more industry norm now, it was just a different time and things were done differently.
Well, it was different back then. It was more of, you're going to put a lot of creative people together and you're going to put a lot of artists together, and this is what you're going to create. And we like the direction that you've already shown us, and we're going to trust that you're going to do it. Nowadays, unfortunately, you have a lot of business people that are making these artistic decisions, and they don't have the thought process of an artist to figure out how it's going to be. So they want all 5 years written up so that they can have an idea to present to their financiers. So it's totally different, Judy, the way I see it. And it's unfortunate. I mean, why do we see, even in the movies, that you'll see a lot of remakes of the same shows and comic book is because they're safe, and remakes of things is because they're safe. No one wants to take that creative jump into something different. And not everyone, but a lot of studios won't go into that. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. I just recently covered the episode, The Obstacle, and that featured you and Joe Conley, Ben and Ike, with their song and dance routine. Now, I know that you and Joe actually went out and did an act places. So what happened first? What was the sequence of?
Well, Joe came to me. It was very funny. He came to John and asked him if he would ever want to do a song and dance type of thing and go to different county fairs and perform it. And John said, no, get Eric. So Joe came to me and I said, I would love to do this. So he and I got together and we we got a choreographer, and we got a music guy, and we got a guy to write a script, and we put together about a 45-minute show. And we rehearsed, and we would do it, at local, dance studios around town in Studio City. And we would do that after work, and we would do it on Saturdays and whenever we could. And we took it out on the road. And we had even costumes, and it was so much fun. And we had a great time doing it. It was really taking the movies from the 30s up to at that time, the 80s or the 70s. Because that's when we were. So it was a lot of fun. Joe and I became best of friends, and he was one of my best friends until he passed. So that came first, and then they were aware of it, the show, so they actually incorporated it into one of the episodes. So
because it looked like you already had that,
we
polished for that.
Yeah. It was already, we already had it. It was just they took one little piece of it, and they incorporated that into the show, probably the 30s and 40s, because that was the music that would have fit for the show. So
that was sweet.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. In terms of cast, particular relationships that you had with, I don't know who you considered you were closest to.
For me,
cast, guest people, whatever.
Yeah, well, regular cast, very close with Richard and John on the guy side. David was a little younger, and we were close. I would talk to him and stuff, and he was like a little brother to me, but who wants to be around a little brother when you're young? You want to hang with the big guys. So Richard, he was a favorite of mine on the set. I just admired everything he did. I aspired to be like him. I tried to learn from him. I was honored when he would take me out to lunch occasionally. I remember going to Musso and Frank for my 16th birthday, and he got me a ring, and he gave it to me, and we walked up and down into the bookstores and on Hollywood Boulevard and stuff, and just visited. That was the best 16th birthday present I could ever have. And one thing that people do ask is when he left, how did we feel? And I was so destroyed by him leaving. I was so upset that he was leaving. He had every right to, but I was also very loyal to him leaving. And I was not happy that they recast later on. Bob Whiteman, nothing against him personally, but my loyalty was with Richard. And then they convoluted the whole thing by bringing Richard back occasionally. And, it was a little sticky on that, on the storylines on that. But, and then John was also I was very close with. And we would go to concerts a lot. In fact, he introduced me to so much music. So we would go down to the studio commissary, and we would get all of our records because they were readily available if they were Warner Brothers or Reprise or the rest of them. So we'd buy our records. I think it were like $1.75 back then. And I got a great record collection from it. And we went to concerts. So we spent a lot of time with them. And you and I spent a lot of time together away from the set, whether we went to the beach with John, or you and I would meet at the park, or I remember riding my bike to Reseda Park and meeting you there. So we would just do things. Yeah. And while we were filming, again, I would be close with Joe later on in the years, and Mary later on in the years. But the guest cast, we talk about that occasionally. Had wonderful ones. John Ritter was one of my favorites. I remember seeing him in restaurants and doing something to him, and he would know that was me. So I had to continue what Richard knew that I would be doing in good faith. So I would have to do that.
Yeah. So
we would have a lot of fun. So. And
when Leslie came into the show to play your wife, Cindy.
Yeah, that's a gift. I was so happy that I was not part of the reading of that or anything else. They just brought her on, and I remember meeting her, and I think we might have read one scene or something like that, but I think she was already cast. And I remember her, driving her to the set. I think they had me bring her over to the lot, to the set for the first time and meet everyone. And she is still a dear friend of mine. We got together last week for dinner, and she completes that part of my life. So it's very funny. I'm married to a Cindy, and she is my other Cindy. So I have two very special Cindys in my life.
So since the Waltons, you've moved out of acting predominantly. You came back and did all the reunions, but you've gone into business. You've raised children. You've had a wonderful post-Walton life.
Yeah, it's been a good life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found that I did freelance for 1 year. I gave it 1 year after the show was done. I did a Dr. Pepper commercial. I did a Fall Guy. I think I did like 3 episodic and like 4 commercials. And all of my out of work actors said, "Hey, that's a great year." And I said, I can't do that. I can't work for 15 days out of the year at the age of 23, 24 and expect that that's enough for me. I had to work. So I looked in the papers to see what I could do. And I had 2 cars and I knew good sense of direction. So I started driving for a messenger company and doing deliveries. And didn't judge. I remember one of their clients was Lorimar Productions, and I had to show up with tickets for someone for a trip that they were going to go on. And I went in there and I saw our picture, nice, big and centered right there. And it was a little humbling. It wasn't easy to go, but I had to just say, okay, this is my new life and I'm going to make it the best. So started going into from driving. I started getting into sales for the company and grew it very, very big. And to the point where I eventually bought into the company, and then I bought out the owners of the company. So I now own the company. So I've been doing it for about 37 years now. And I don't
it makes good.
I did just fine. Ben did really well.
Ben made good. All that business stuff you learned from Ben, you put to good use.
That's right. Sometimes you have to get through those tough times to see the positives. So now I can say I'm semi-retired. I do check in every morning 4 days a week. I take my Fridays off. We vacation a lot. My youngest, Jeremy, is about to leave the house for college. So we're excited about that. And Emma's in her 3rd year of college. And Ashley, of course, is getting ready she's engaged to be married next year. So life is good.
Yeah, we've been pretty lucky. I mean,
we have.
What does it mean to you to have all of this, like to have the 50 years that we've had so far and counting?
Yeah, it's such a gift, Judy. The biggest gift is that we have each other. The show, that's just the cherry on top. But the fact that we can call each other, we can talk to each other, we can hug each other. We went through a wonderful time. We did something really special, but we have each other and we're lifelong friends. And that to me is the best part. And they always talk about, hey, come on out and meet us. I say, well, okay, but I want to know who's coming. It's my family. I want to make sure that we're all together and we can spend some time together, because that's to me is that's my gift is being with you guys. So we're so lucky that way.
I totally agree. I mean, we had 10 years together working, and here we are. We've had 40 years together.
Yeah.
That we weren't working together, but we've helped, we've been just family then for 40 years without the work. Thank you for joining me for this conversation with Eric Scott. I'll be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.